Hello, everyone. Tuesday
Hey,
evening, as always. Here we go with our sparkle hour. Hi, Killian. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm actually doing really good. I mean,
Good.
you're sitting really comfy there today. See, like I'm in suit and you're today in the
I've got my
comfy zone.
joggers on. I've got my
No, no,
furry
it's like
socks. It's
that
freezing
is
in here.
it is freezing. I mean, this is
Yeah,
really what's funny happening here today. Well, in the UK, it's really getting cold. I mean, during the day, I think it's not too bad actually, but I
at
think in the
night.
evening, it's oh god, it's really chilling down, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was speaking to a friend of mine actually saying in the States, it was getting really. He is in Montreal, and I spoke to him today yesterday, and he is telling me. Wow, it's really getting cold here. And I said, well, it doesn't surprise me, Canada.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he's from Mexico originally. And
Oh
I said,
God.
oh, you're in for a treat this winter.
Oh dear.
what, what an idea to move to bloody from Mexico to bloody Montreal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that.
And it's like, and
100% the other way.
And the funny thing is, he was in Dubai for like about I think 5 years.
Oh,
He's
lovely.
a pilot. He used to
Mm.
be first officer with Emirates, and then he went back to Mexico. That's where he's originally from. And then I like now he's in Montreal, and I said, "You fucking crazy."
Yeah, absolutely. Not for me at all.
It's funny when I moved to Toronto a couple God, many years back, and I moved, and I was living in Las Vegas at that time. So we had in Vegas, we had about, I mean, well, enough to translate it again from the temperature of the states. So it was about 40 degrees centigrade down there, and so initially I was going to drive from Vegas down to Toronto. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I actually sold my car. It's really funny. 2 days before I left, I sold my car. Had two dogs with it. So I booked the flight to Toronto with the boxes and two Dalmatians and it and everything. So I'm coming to Toronto. And little did I think, moving to Toronto, was the middle of the winter because in Vegas it was 40 degrees
Yeah.
centigrade. So I arrived in Toronto, and that was one of the most severe winters. I think it was 2002 they had in Toronto. It was literally minus 32 degrees when
Oh
I
my
landed in
God.
Toronto. It was like about 6 feet snow and everything was, and I was like, oh, what the fuck did I do here?
Do you know what though? You say that. So we've got a friend who is originally from Vegas, and
Yeah.
we used to go out and visit her and stuff. She's moved to Wrexham in North Wales. Yeah. I
How can you
mean,
do that?
love will do funny things for you, but bloody hell, Wrexham.
And that was for me as well a love move, I have to tell you. And I regretted it right in the moment I landed in bloody Toronto. I was like, I mean, I like Toronto, but honestly, I said, oh, like the dogs were happy because they never seen snow, and
Oh,
they came from California. We moved to Vegas, and then they loved it because that was something new for them. But I actually had to buy these dog shoes for them because nobody was minus 35 degrees. So, actually that was not healthy for them either. So they had these
oh
little
God, love it.
shoes on, and it was just really funny. Two Dalmatians with little boots. That's really it.
Oh, bless him. Poor little
It
buggers.
it was really funny. It's really true. This is what's like, this is how life goes. But no, no, never ever again. I was like, no.
Yeah, it's bad enough in Surrey.
And then that was the year as well. So I just moved there, and we're just getting out of the winter. And then what happened was, I don't know if you remember, it was 2000. There must have been 2002 actually. It was
Mm.
when the entire east coast of the United States up to Canada, where they had for 3 days the major electric failure. So we had no electricity.
Oh God.
So on one day, just all the lights went off everywhere on the East Coast. It was, of course, I think there was something wrong with the main plant that actually transformed it all over the state. And you think about it at that point when we were already in internet dominated
Mm.
world already at that time. So while you have some power eventually on your laptop. But sorry, even with the power on your laptop, you didn't have any modem working. Nothing was working.
Yeah.
So the only thing was then over my phone. But then on the phone, after a certain time, the phone went dead as well. And then it got really interesting because on day 2, well, what do? You do what you can do, right? You had some candlelight, had some dinner. But then we decided, well, nothing in the freezer, everything was defrosting and everything. So next day I said, oh, well, you know what? I just popped to the shop next door. Now, I did not have any cash on me. So I was trying to go to the cash machine. The cash machine's not working.
Oh,
Nothing was
God.
working. There was no electricity, nothing. So then I went next to the supermarket. And I mean, he was really cool because he knew us because we were living right above them. And he said, don't worry, I write it down. He was actually doing barbecue in front of the store and selling the meat off. Yeah, because
Everything had gone.
Everything was going gone. And
Jeez.
so it was a bloody nightmare. So that was my little story in Toronto. I don't have the best memories of Toronto, to be very honest.
Not
Well,
gonna
I
move
love the
back
city.
then.
The city was like, I was about that. Actually, that's what I did. I actually moved back to Vegas like about 3 months later, because then as well the relationship went just all haywire. So I just said, oh no, what the heck? I'm going to move back to Vegas, which was good. I loved Vegas. I always love Vegas.
Oh
Vegas
yeah,
is
it's
so much
lush.
fun. Yeah, Vegas is fun. And then it's not only about the entertainment that you have there in Vegas. Of course, the casinos are the casinos, but you actually have everything in Vegas. I mean, everything what you want to do. If you want to go for movies, theaters, shows, everything you want to do. You actually, if somebody gets bored in Vegas, I don't know what's wrong with them, because, and even if you want to go out swimming or whatever, that you go to the dam, you go swimming there. There is
Yeah.
Vegas Lake, there's Henderson. There's so many areas here where you really can go, and everything is there for relaxation, for everything you want to do.
Yeah.
Basically, it's not only the casino, playing in the casino. Yes, of course,
No.
that's. I got bored. I think in the big first months when I moved to Vegas, I was there every day, basically in the casino doing something, playing. I love slot machines. I'm a big slot person, but I do like as well roulette and things like that, and blackjack.
Yeah.
But you stop doing it eventually when you're there, because you go when your friends come around, and of course I was good. But then dinner, I mean, cooking yourself at home, you wouldn't even do that, because it's cheaper to go somewhere in a casino on a buffet to actually pay the buffet than
Oh, the food was so good. Oh my
food is
God.
amazing. Food is really amazing in Vegas.
Yeah, we
So
went to quite a few places when we were out there. We got hooked up with the girl who was running the airport, and she took us to this Chinese restaurant, and it was lovely. Like, it was incredible, the food. And even then, like Planet Hollywood we stayed in, and like the food was just, we tried all the different restaurants because we were lucky that she comped it for us, so we didn't have to pay anything. And I was having like steak and eggs for breakfast and a Jack Daniels when in Vegas.
What happens in Vegas? Exactly.
So good. Yeah,
stays
definitely.
over there. So, what are we going to talk about today? I thought like we talk about. I just did today in the podcast. I did the question about being compassionate, and compassion. I think it's such a big word again. And one of the things that I've realized, and I don't know how you see that, and that's why I was the entire podcast all about, was that we actually have always compassion for other people. But we completely forget about being compassionate with ourselves. We actually do the entire opposite. We beat ourselves up for everything.
The inner critic.
The inner critic. That's what it is. And I think it was for me today such a big lesson to actually look at it and saying, it's really, we clearly see how to be compassionate to other people, and we have a really easy way to do it because we believe it's being kind to other people, helping other people is something valuable to do, actually, and actually do that, and we do that. But then we what I looked at as well further down, so just going to give you something to talk about here for you as well, is then I looked, we confuse a bit self-esteem and self-compassion. Because self-esteem for me is the moment where there's always an outcome attached to it. So we want to be always in advance of something. Self-esteem means for me is I'm better than somebody else. Even a slight bit, but I always try to be, yeah, I'm on top of it. It's always a higher outcome. While self-compassion doesn't have this attachment of to the outcome actually. Actually, it is the completely opposite because self-compassion I practice in the moment when I fail. Because I say then to myself, yeah, you care about yourself. You say, that doesn't matter. It's a failure, but or you learn something out of it. And you're still good. You're not negative. And I mean, that's when I practice my self-compassion. But you see, what I thought was really interesting because people will argue, well, that's like self-esteem. No, it's not, because the self-esteem is always into a positive outcome. Oh, you mean you can talk about your self-esteem that is critical as well, being self-critical, as you said, where it could be in the negative part of it if you can't keep up the good part of it. But most of the time, self-esteem means something about being attached to an outcome, to a positive outcome, or to an outcome where I want to go. And it's something that we teach in integral part in our schools as parents and as well in education. It's always about competition, being better than something, and that will boost your self-esteem. We say that, well, if you do that and you get better at it, and if you win that, that will boost your self-esteem. And I don't know how you see that. Just, I wanted to have your point on that one.
So from the self-esteem perspective, I guess a lot of that is to do with being good enough, isn't it? You spend a lot of your life telling yourself that you're not good enough and then trying to live up to yours and other people's expectations and that you are good enough. And I think, and as part of that with confidence as well, I think the two things kind of go hand in hand, don't they, really? Because you've got to be confident in yourself to actually push yourself to your limit where you're actually going to achieve something, and which again is then going to boost your self-esteem. But I think for me, the long and the short of it is all about, am I good enough? That is the question. And I think you know yourself, growing up in whatever sort of family that you had wasn't always the best place for to learn what self-esteem really is, if that makes sense. Like for me, like when I've done all my inner child work, a lot of it is around not feeling good enough for my parents and mainly my dad. So they always ask you, don't they, who did you crave attention from the most? And for me, it was always my dad, because he worked so much and he was never there. And I think I never had particularly high self-esteem growing up. I was the chubby kid. I wasn't confident. I was bullied. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of it is, it's not something that you're born with, is it? It's something that you are socialized into having, I guess. But for me, it's all around whether you feel good enough or not. What do you think?
And this is what is the thing, as like for me personally, and that's what I talked today about. It's like self-criticism is for me really strongly linked to depression. Because and the funny thing about it is actually somehow we some of the reasons actually is one of the reasons why I think people feel that they need to be self-critical is to actually to motivate themselves, because and that is really the I think that's where it's really counterproductive, because you criticize yourself and you think you motivate yourself to do better. Actually, we think we need to beat ourselves up for the mistakes that we did and everything, and then it's kind of a messed up thinking process, because it's counterproductive in itself, because it leads to depression, and it's actually the opposite of motivation. It's actually creating the counterproduction of it. the thing is, what I think is just like we lose the face on ourselves, and then we just say, okay, fine, we do everything possible to avoid this failure or this pain again, right? And
Mhm.
then our lovely, or the most lovely part we do is we automatically go blame others.
Oh, I
That is
hate
the next
that.
thing. We automatically do that because obviously we are not really, we're not even possible to actually, I mean, it's come some of a survival instinct as well, isn't it? Because um we just go like, but it's not my fault, it's your fault. And I talked today about it actually. It's like, look at how many people in a relationship, it goes like, well, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. And it goes this blaming up and down and up and down. And we actually we're not able to say, okay, well, I'll take it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm worried because it's automatically because we do not want to accept our own failures. And it's obviously it's an auto-protective mode that our brain sets us and automatically put the blame on others,
Yeah.
which because it obviously would, it's, I think it's even our subconscious mind that does that. I think it's not even us deciding that we do not want to admit to our own shortcomings.
But
It
again,
is
it's the
more,
brain. It is the brain
mm,
protecting itself because I've just literally, this will make you laugh. I've been doing this over the past 2 days in my CBT course.
mm,
And it is all about sort of cognitive distortion. And that is one of the cognitive distorted behaviors is blame of other people. It's that external locus of control, isn't it?
yeah.
Instead of looking inwards, you're constantly looking outwards and blaming everything else. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean it's huge in CBT and REBT as well.
Yeah, it is.
And it's
And you see, and you see, and that's why it took me to self compassion, where I said there's a big difference here because self compassion is actually not about you. It is about you, but it's not about you, and it doesn't involve the judgment or evaluation of yourself. Because when you're compassionate to yourself, you will admit to yourself that there are shortcomings, there are failures that you have done, right? And now you're compassionate towards yourself and you say, oh, it's all right. It doesn't matter. I'll do better next time. And accepting that. And that's what you don't do with the self esteem thing because now you're beating yourself up and saying,
yeah,
right, I didn't do that right. And that is just crap. And I need to be better here. But and that's why I said, isn't it as well something that our culture, our world teaches us nowadays?
yeah.
And are we doing that in the schools already and parenting as well? It's
Mm-hmm.
always this competition part, this being trying um, to be better than anybody else. It's always like this, getting a better A grade, getting that, and without even looking at, nobody really gives an F about it at the end of the day. What
No.
is written on your bloody transcripts in 20 years' time? Nobody gives a. I'm just. We were talking about before we went live. We talked about me creating this new website, right? So I was now about today about talking about me. That was like what I'm doing. And I was just saying in that sentence, in one sentence, I was like, so I'm really real here. I said, like, okay, I went through everything in my life. So, and I'm just counting up. I said, that's why they call me chameleon and whatever. And I said, like, so when I look back at my life, what I have done, I said, I have been, I'm just even saying it, it's like really fun. It's like, I have been alcohol, drug addict, got trouble with the law, fucked up big time, messed myself up, got out of the shit, focused back on again, just to fuck it up again. I have run major companies, I have run hotels, hotel chains, everything. I have created so many business. I failed several ones, not one, several ones. Um, Almost went to bankruptcy with two companies. I mean, I went through all of that crap. And one thing I was like, I have done 2 degrees. I'm doing almost the third one is almost finished now in 2020. Kind of a laughing moment. I'm studying law. So looking back at my life history, I was in a cult, in an alien cult, let's put it that way. And it's like, and I'm going through that and I'm just writing it down. And I said, well, what do you fucking care about my qualifications?
Nobody
Because
does.
I have qualified, and actually the way how I said it, it's just, I just say it the way I said, like, okay, here's it all about. I'll save you some time on doing your research about me. So I'm throwing it all at you. So fucking hell,
There it
don't
is.
need to fucking Google. Here is the platter. Have it. It's and that's what it is. I don't give a fuck. And I have to. Can I say it live? I hope so.
Yeah, you can say what you
Yeah,
want.
exactly. Did you? This is what in my first chapter I sent yesterday to you. It's like where I was like, it's like this editor, the first editor that I had, and he just went like, "Oh, Chris, you can't use the F word you can't place the F bone in self-help book. It's not a fictional character here you're portraying." And I just went like, "Oh,
No.
you brainiac! I fucking do what I want. It's my fucking book." So, and he hung up, and he just hung up. And I said, interesting. That probably he didn't like my honesty, but I didn't care.
But
Now
that
my
makes him not the
editor,
right person for you. There you
exactly. And
go.
I was like, go fuck off. Sorry, I'm just saying that. But, it's
100%.
just like, not my bloody problem. This is what I
No.
am. I'm authentic. I am here, what you get. And as I said, I'm going back there again to what you yes, I'm an NLP master, I have all the certifications, but what the fuck you care? I lived life and I went through, I did through probably my life more than 95% of the people in this planet have done at 80. Because why? Because I've been always chasing something
Mm.
until I had the big realization moment. As I said, I created companies that were really successful, and boy were they successful. But then I had as well all these failures. And it's not about that I didn't know the formula. I knew the formula, but I was not really right there. I decided that I'm flying around as airline crew around the world, which was a great idea because I would actually see everything around the world, which is good, but it didn't really make me happy either because it just that's what I'm saying about it. But it's so funny to look at that is how people still attach these things to certificates and everything. They don't, because nobody cares about it. Nobody cares how I did my master's. Nobody has ever asked me, actually, can I see the transcripts?
No,
No,
100%. But some people
nobody
really
cares.
do let it define them, whether
Oh,
it is,
yes.
and not even just certificates. It's like stuff that they've got.
Oh,
Like,
God,
oh,
yes.
look at my car. I've got this. Or, oh, God, in our family, the favourite thing was the bloody couch. It seemed to get more expensive every time my, my dad spoke to somebody about it. And I was like, it's a fucking couch. Like, nobody cares. But people really do let it define them. And it is a shame. But I think that's going to get worse, if I'm honest, as well. Because I look at my boys, and I'm probably guilty of it anyway, because I would literally give them the world if I could. I've always tried to give them whatever, just because why shouldn't I, if that makes sense? But when you look at them, everything, like in their social groups, it's all designer stuff, and they've got to have the best phones and the best headphones and the flaming electric scooters, which I hate, so mine haven't got them. uh, but it is getting worse, I think. It's certainly not like it was when I was growing up.
And you see, and this brings me back again to what I was saying. It's all about this self-esteem and self boost that we're
Worse.
doing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like we want to have that. And there, I think compassion and self-compassion is exactly the opposite, because it's all about, I think, how did I say it today in the podcast? It's about shared community or shared humanity.
Mm.
It's about being average, because we all have our ups and downs, we all have our fails, and we have our strengths and our beauties and beautiful qualities, but we do have as well these fucked up thick traits that we do have in our head, right? So we are average. Everybody's average. It doesn't matter if you're the Queen of England or you're the bum in the street. You still go to the bathroom, as I
We're all
always
the
say.
same.
Yeah, we all the same. We're average, and it's just. I think, and that's where I think mental health, when we talk about mental health, self compassion is so bloody important, because we need to learn to be kind to ourselves in
Yeah.
every way. It's like, you're not going to lose. Like, look, weight loss. We're looking at weight loss. How many people beat themselves up for falling off a diet? And they literally stress themselves. That is exactly the opposite. It's again this self esteem, this ego voice saying, but everybody else is doing it, I should be doing it as well. Why did I fall off the wagon? Well, so you fell off the wagon. You get back on the wagon and you keep
Yeah.
going. But be kind to yourself. This is what it is. It's not about this, I need to be better than everybody. It's need to be average, and the average will fall off the wagon. The average will have the piece of cake. And it's the way how we talk to each other, ourselves. It's not only when somebody is feeling down on that one. Let's say, like you would say, and we just had this conversation earlier. I said, "Oh, I look bloated," right? So the first thing you said, and that's you were being compassionate. You said, "No, after all that you went through, you don't look anything." I think it differently. And then the next thing I said, "Well, the last week and a half, I wasn't really good with my diet, so." You see, I automatically tried this competition and just saying, okay, fine. But were you being compassionate to me, actually, because that's what we do. But why can I not be compassionate to myself and saying, and I actually came in and I said, well, here we go. You're actually right. I have been so strict and I have lost so much weight over these 12 weeks on 645. It's okay to fall off a couple of days of the wagon. I'm getting back on it, but it's just okay. Be kind to yourself and just do that, because everything else, it's actually bringing us to depressed state, and it actually we creating our own bloody depressions. It's not anybody outside that is creating it. Is us ourselves. Is we always say our inner critic voice,
Yeah.
the ego that tells us the things, and it's just maybe it's an instinct of survival. Maybe that's what it is, as you put it the other day really nicely with the tribe thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. But as I think it is about we interlink competition and being higher value, self-esteem, to our own life satisfaction and our happiness.
We
And
attach
I think
emotion to it. That's the problem.
yes,
That is the
yes,
problem. Yeah. And as
yeah.
soon as you start realizing that you're going to have these emotions regardless, and learning to rather like observe the emotion rather than actually put a meaning to it, if that makes sense. Like that, I
Mm,
think we do it far too often. If you don't win
mm,
something, then you feel rubbish about yourself and you're attaching that emotion to it. Nobody else
mm,
actually gives a shit that you didn't win it, but because it's you and you think that you should have won whatever it is, you attach
mm,
emotion to it. So I'll give you a funny little example on this one. Is me recently. So I had done basically my last job. I'd spent 3 years grafting, working in two different departments, done a huge amount of work, created like a fully electronic department in one department, and then prepared the unit for their governance visit. So the same sort of thing as the CQC do in hospitals. We have our own guys that come in and check out our facilities. Anyway, I'm sitting, bear in mind I've moved jobs now, and I'm sitting and this thing pings up on my laptop and I was like, ping, I was like, ooh, what's that email? And I looked and it was something from my previous job, and I didn't
mm,
realize that I was still on their governance system. And basically somebody had put in what we call a purple significant event, which is best practice. And they were talking about how the practice development and governance team had implemented this workbook and that it was brilliant, all one-stop shop for all of the governance evidence. And I was triggered. Oh, because it was me. I implemented it, but I was so triggered. And you can imagine, because obviously you and I know, we know about all this stuff. We know that, we have triggers and it triggers that emotion. And I was like trying so hard to observe the emotion. But actually in my mind, I was like, I'm going to kill somebody because I did that. But it's weird, isn't it? And that, again, that is the ego coming out, being an absolute prick. And I was so mad. And then I had to tell people, and people don't care. Like, they're not interested in my crap. But I think it's just a perfect demonstration of what happens because little ego creeps out. And it took me 24 hours, and I observed myself.
And I made the point today in the podcast. Actually, self-esteem is connected to narcissism.
Yeah.
It is actually what it is, while self-compassion isn't at all. And that's where the funny thing is, because this narcissistic tendency of self-esteem and this competition thing brings us even anger moments, and you made it really good. It brings out the emotions. While self-compassion, you would have said, if you would have been self-compassionate and it said like, yeah, that's great, I did really well. I actually did really well. But it's good that they're seeing that now. It doesn't matter if they know it was me, but I know that I did really well.
Yeah.
You see, that would be that way you have been being kind with yourself, your compassion to yourself, and saying, yeah, I did that, and I'm quite happy about that. And it's good that they actually valuing it right now. Maybe they don't see it, it's me, but it's not even important. I did it in the greater schemes of things. But here goes your self-esteem kicked in, and it's like this narcissistic thing. It's like me, 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 me.
Yeah.
And that's where the anger and the emotion comes in. And that's actually, it's just, you think it's like to get your self-worth validated. Well, you know that you did it and you have this self-worth. It's not even about that anybody else sees that. When I remember now, at the end of the call afterwards, I just have to, now I know what I was going to talk to you about. It's called Putek. Putek. Remind me of Putek. And I will tell you after. Don't question right now. Putek. But I'll tell you afterwards because it's really funny. So don't even ask me why it came back right now. I know now why it came back, but it's like this way. And it's this reactive anger, I call it.
How scary is it? The fact that we know, we're very conscious that we should be doing these things, but actually we still, at like a primitive level, still react like that because of our conditioning.
Yeah. It's a social comparison that is beat into us since childhood. Because when you look at a child, when it's born, this brain is empty. It's like it's a beautiful canvas, basically, right? Empty canvas, and you just go in it. And we put all this crap into our brain, and especially this social comparison thing is a really big thing. And everything is focused. You need to be better. You need to go in sports. You need to be faster, jump further. And we do even these competitions with children in school when they have like their yearly sports competition. And then we focus then, and then they supposed to go to even further and go to the Olympics and everything. Everything is about boosting your bloody self-esteem. As you said, with cars, with items, and we have the newest thing and everything. And we completely forget about how is our mental well-being going on with that. It's just like, okay, and even as a business, you say like, yeah, but this business is making more money. It doesn't mean that they are more happy. It just makes them more money. And I want the same because they're making more money. And it's all about materialistic things on the surface. But actually it isn't. It's all about our ego, our self-esteem that we're going for. And I find it really interesting. You see, like how I went from being compassionate to self-compassion, because I thought like, yeah, but being compassionate, that's what you do. That's what, unless you're really narcissistic and you're really egoistic here, then you actually don't give a fuck about other people. But even then, I still think you do know that the right thing to do is to actually help other people. However, and that's why I said, is 99.9% of us do not practice self-compassion. And we don't do that. And, but then you see, the big crush comes, and it's like, where they're saying like, okay, so, and I even looked at that afterwards, because that came my big roadblock. Then I said, okay, if you're compassionate about yourself all the time, doesn't stop that you, and doesn't make it procrastinate actually on it and become complacent with things, because that will be obviously doing that, because like you say,
Mm.
yeah, that's all right, you didn't do that, so that's fine, but you better don't do that again, and you don't keep going that way, because obviously our brain says, oh, survivor, we shouldn't do that. So you're talking yourself into be you're being more compassionate to yourself, and you're being pretty much complacent
Complacent.
with, yes.
Snap.
And snap. And actually, the funny thing is, I looked then at research, so that's how I go on my tantrum moments. Then I'm like, okay, right now that's a thought I have to find the research, and actually the research is not showing that. And the actual research supports that somebody who is self-compassionate is actually the standards are as high as somebody that is really just self-esteem focused. The only difference there is the one that is self-compassionate is actually the way how he handles any setbacks. And a person that is self-compassionate actually has an advantage, because he will brush off the things like this and say, okay, fine, fair enough, we'll set a new goal. While a self-esteem person, a self-esteem focused, narcissistic here, actually beats himself up for quite a while, and actually goes into this tantrum moments and looking down, while somebody that actually really actively puts compassion to itself will get out of the hole, out of the failure, which I don't even think it's a failure, because it's just a different outcome that you expected. To quote the big Tony Robbins here. But it's just one of these things. And it's really interesting, exactly the opposite, that we think we cope more productively when you're self-compassionate with the actual failure itself. While the self-esteem, you see, your tantrum moment, your anger moment, look at how long, you said it took me 24 hours. If you would have been compassionate with yourself, you would have been out of it in a minute, and you would have moved on with your day. However, this occupied your brain for a very long time. 24 hours is quite a bloody time. You could look in this 24 hours what you could have been doing.
Yeah.
If you would have seen it from a different angle. And that, I thought it was such an important realization for me here, that, yeah, sorry, we really all have it all wrong. We all have it really wrong. And it's just, I don't know how you see it, but that's how I see it. It's just really, I find it really, really interesting how we mess it up that way.
But then,
You're quiet now.
yeah, I'm just thinking though, but like I said before, it's not really a choice innately, is it? It is like we've said, it's your conditioning, and it's the choice that you make when you realize it's a thing. Like, I didn't realize it was a thing until about
No.
a year ago, and now I'm trying, but oh my God, how long does it take to rewire a brain? A long time. We like to talk about our neuroplasticity and rewiring of our brains, but it takes a lot of time and effort, and I don't think people appreciate that as much either. You expect, oh, well, I know that that's not the way to be, so I'll just change it overnight and I'll just tell myself. But how many, what it's like, how often do you have to tell yourself with your affirmations and your incantations and your mindfulness and all of the other things that we do to kind of rewire the brain? It takes a freaking long time. It's certainly not overnight.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying, but I'm not so sure if it is actually that complicated in itself. I think the biggest problem here is that we don't even focus on, as I said, we don't focus on ourselves from the beginning. And we try to do that once we come to the self-help book point of it. I don't know if you read the first chapter now, which I send out, but I was actually talking about it's like if you're like one of 93% of the people that just pick up a self-help book and never bloody read it,
Yeah.
or actually read it only to one part. Here's my advice to you right now: what to do with a book. And I actually, I mean, I don't
Burn
want to
it.
tell too much.
I have started
Exactly.
reading
I was like,
it.
take the bin, put it on lighter fuel and burn it, because I don't even fucking get the point. Why did you even buy it in the first place if you had no intention to finishing it, actually? And you're
Yeah.
making yourself a big favor. And I'm talking really funnily about it. I was like, at least you're getting some value out in the winter months. You can get a warmer house, and maybe some entertainment from the fire brigade when they come to your house, right? So yeah, but it's just, I mean, I look at it really in a funny way, but it's the truth. It's actually the bloody truth. We don't take this there's this obsession with self-esteem and competition in our society, and I don't even know where it's come. Well, I do know where it's coming from. I think we're promoting it in school already, and as parents we do say that you need to be better in
Social
school.
media.
Yeah, social media everywhere. It's actually everything is there. We do not we yes we don't want our kids to help themselves, they hate themselves. We want them to feel worthy and everything.
Mm.
But I don't think it is about being, but we actually tell them to be better. Always be better in school, be better notes, do study more. And as like I said, who the fuck gives a shit about the transcript at the end of the day? Nobody. Nobody. I understand it, but we always need to be better. And this is what is we are really so focused on. While we say we should be saying to our children, that's all right. You fucked it up. That's good. Okay. Okay. Well, let's move on. Be kind to yourself, right? Have an ice cream. Be happy. Seriously. And it's just such what I'm saying is about, be human being and be happy with who you are and healthy and as healthy as possible. So don't even put your mind in the position of being depressed or negative.
Mm.
Don't do that. If we would go from the largest scheme already in schools and actually do this, as I called it, cultural shift, to actually teach our children and even our educators in schools teach our children that it's all right to be average. But if you're happy and healthy and you don't have the mental stress that creates depression and all these bloody mental health things, then I mean, we both know what we're talking about here. We've been through
Yeah.
it. It's all this pressure that we have put on ourselves, which took us on a route of self-discovery,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
took us
Massively.
yeah, exactly, and brought us to who we are today and why we actually able to coach other people, which I said when I was earlier was talking about degrees. One client said to me, and I refused the client. Actually, it's not a client, so it's one prospect asked me and said, yeah, so what are your degrees then in NLP? And I said, you know what the fuck, I have NLP mastery, and I have done it with the top person in the industry. So, but that's beside the fucking point. I'm from the University of Life. And I tell you, at the University of Life, I have been through probably 10 times more shit than you have. And I'm still sitting here. I could be not sitting here anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think I had several moments where I could have actually thrown the towel and really thrown the towel. And I didn't. But this is where I'm saying it does nothing. It's like what, and I can't help people like this, self-criticism and everything, and criticism from other people, it really comes in a price. It makes us anxious, it makes us dissatisfied actually with ourselves. Even when we reach certain goals, we are not satisfied with the outcome because we still believe that it is not
Good
big enough,
enough.
good enough, exactly. And it makes us even depressed. And that's where it all goes wrong. So we're educating our children to be their own worst critic,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
And that's where I think that's where the society, and as you said, I get what you're saying. It's like, well, it's a lot of work, but it should be changed already in the core sense.
Yeah.
It should be like self-compassion and actually teaching our children compassion to themselves and self-acceptance should be the first key lesson we teach our children. And not you need to be better in sport, you need to be better in school, you need to be becoming a CEO, you need to make 5 million, you need to do this, you need to do that, you don't need the Porsche standing in front of the house. A Mini will do as well, or even a scooter will do. Fuck off, I'm seriously. But to be very honest here, Ken, I think that's where this world is going completely berserk, absolutely berserk. And the numbers of our mental health issues and the mental health services, they're so overwhelmed and overpacked. It's not even funny anymore. It's not even funny anymore. And that's because of what we have created. We're creating it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not even anybody doing it. We're doing it ourselves. And I love how you analyze it. It's like it's today already the phones and the best baskets and sneakers and whatever. It's sickening. It's sickening to see that. But it's good that you see it yourself because you say, well, actually, I'm promoting it as a mother.
Yeah.
And taking the step back here and looking at like, maybe the wrong core values I'm teaching here. Which I understand. You're the mother of your children. You would do anything for your children. I mean, that's the point, being a mother. But is it really? Are we really teaching the right thing there?
I think so. I suppose I can only talk from my experience. So me growing up, like my mum and dad would have done anything for us, but they couldn't. It was just not within their means. And I think a lot of, I felt like I wasn't good enough because I didn't have any of the stuff that all the other kids did. And that's how I grew up. So I always swore that I would never let my boys feel like that. And I think that is my reasoning as to why I am the way that I am with them. But at the same time, the way that I speak to them is very different. Like I show you some. Oh God, love him. So I found this in my diary. So this is Joel, my 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So he did these little things. So he's done this one, which is believe.
Oh yeah.
Which way it is.
Yeah,
and in it he says, always be yourself. Never give up on anything. Don't bully other people. Forgive for what you have done and be kind to everyone. He's 8. Love that one. And then his other one he's done is forgive. And how much of what we do as adults as well, when we're going through these processes, is about forgiveness. And he had put, always forgive other people for what they have done. Don't hurt anyone because they won't forgive you. And don't even be rude to anyone that you don't know. But I just think, despite them having stuff, that's come from the writing of an 8-year-old. Yeah. So I do think that you can still instill in them, good values and promote how they should be treating people and how they should be treated, but they can still have some stuff. That's my balance.
No, you say this, yeah, I do not. I mean, it's not about, as you said, not to attending their needs, and I do understand that. But you see, obviously, you do teach them core values as well, and you talk about these things, and that's why I think it's all good. But do you know how many people don't do that, and especially when they are in this, let's say, upper class? And I don't like this classification anyway, because you are an upper class and tomorrow you're fucking bum. It could happen like this, right? So there is no upper and lower class. Actually, I think we all are the same. As I said, we all go to the bathroom. So at the end of the day, there is no class or classification. But a lot of people just think it's like fixture is money, and they don't teach them, and they teach them the wrong values here. They teach them you need to go in business to be better than everybody else. You need to be cruel to actually to step over other people's body to make it in business. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what this whole entire self-esteem and everything. Not that we do believe in it. It's like, yeah, I'm a go-giver. For me, first of all, is always giving the value to other people. And I love how Bob explains that, because people say to me, yeah, but if you always give more value to other people than you receive in payment, isn't that a lawful bankruptcy? And I said, well, and I love how Bob explains it. It's this this idea of being an accountant,
Hmm.
and you go to the accountant, and the accountant charges you £1,000,
Yeah.
right, for doing your taxes. In return, and that's what she does value for. That's her value. It's like she's charging you £1,000 for that. In return, she's gonna save you £5,000 in taxes. So what did she give you? She gave you more value than she expected back as payment,
Yeah.
because she asked you to pay £1,000. So it is not a law to bankruptcy, because obviously she's giving you more value. So, and that makes a lot of sense at that moment when you just think about it that way,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah,
like
it does.
you don't even think, people always put, and anyway, value is not a monetary
No, absolutely
thing.
not.
Value, that's where a lot of people get it wrong, actually. They saying like,
You're doing
well,
everything for
but
free.
yes, and or
Yeah.
even payment always think is just, it's all a currency. It's not, that's not even the point. Payment can be as well differently. Payment can be as well a referral to somebody else. That exactly, and that's what people don't
Yeah.
see. They don't see the, we automatically see payment and value, we always put a monetary figure to it. And I think that's where we all get it wrong, or a lot of people get it wrong, because obviously when you look at life in a different way, you realize these things, and it's
But
just
this is
like,
it. And it's only existed in this form since what? The 1800s in the form that we have it now.
yeah,
Fair enough, we had made up coins and stuff in the past, but a lot of it was about trade and service, which is essentially what we do. So,
yeah,
it's just energy, isn't it, at the end of the day?
it is.
And
When you look back at the Egyptians and everything, things were completely different. Now, we don't want to talk about the slaves.
what services did they
but
give?
then but then again, it's like, actually, to be very funny, because when you look, and I mean, I'm very, I told you in one of the things we had here, where we talked about how much I loved the Egyptians and what I thought about the Egyptians. Actually, the pharaohs treated the Egyptian the slaves on a daily basis quite well. The actually beating, what they call, when they
Hmm.
were building the pyramids, it was actually, they figured out that that's the best way to motivate. But then in the evening, they were treated to feasts, to actually literally feast. This
Yeah.
was just the way how they built the pyramids. And yeah, you might agree and not agree with it. And actually, he released them, the slaves as well, afterwards. So he's like, what? No, I mean, I don't want to make slavehood here right, because it certainly wasn't it. But when you look at the actual stories of the Egyptians, it wasn't actually that as bad as we would think. It's certainly not the slaverism that we have seen in modern times, like in the States or
Mm.
somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was that is a different story. This is or that's an evolution of the being slaves as we looked at the Egyptians, because there the things were completely different. They were actually completely different.
And we only
And
know so much, don't we? And again, that could be due to perception.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
actually,
whether it's
mm,
fact or not, we'll never know. I mean, we're what,
I,
three and a
I,
half thousand years ago?
yeah, and I actually had it was a very interesting archaeologist, and actually, specialized in Egypt, who did. I actually saw that in Cairo, actually, at the museum.
Mm.
He held a speech, and he is actually Jewish or Israeli in origin. So obviously looked at the times of Moses and all these things,
Mm.
and he was saying it's just such a big misconception what actually happened there. Um, the much how the pharaohs actually helped the people after this massive construction was built and everything,
Yeah.
and how he showered the architects that used to be actually Jewish origin, how he showered them with prosperity, and even his family, because that's what they were. They were big families at that time. It wasn't, they were all somehow all together, right?
Yeah.
So how much they have given to that one. This is what we do not talk about. And it just looks very funnily only at these short, it's snapshots of the actual history. But the
Mm.
history is way bigger there. While we obviously in modern history we have a way better understanding because there is way more
Yeah.
witnessing happened during these time, and there was way more recording happen. Actually,
Yeah.
not that the Egyptian didn't record; they recorded a hell of a lot, right? So, I mean, they were really good in recording. But it's just still, it's fascinating me how we have this wrong perception of things actually that happened there. And I thought that speech was absolutely, it changed my entire viewpoint on the Egyptian history as well,
Mm.
because obviously he looked into way too into the deeper levels. And then again, is it back to narcissism? Is that already things that we there that were this ego, this trying to be having the self-esteem? Like, they look at the pharaohs, they all built one pyramid bigger than the other.
Look at the size of my pyramid.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was like, look at the size, and I tell her, what are you going to say? That was my thing.
It's like the Egyptian BMW, isn't it?
Yeah, there was the Egyptian, and you know how they actually, now we're going really down the road, and so but we're almost at the end here anyway. Is
Yeah.
like, how they build the obelisk,
Yeah.
the phallus symbol of every pharaoh. The bigger he was, the more I had was in power. I mean, seriously. And actually, it is the truth, because, but then it just threw me off, because I was thinking, like, because somebody had this statistic about saying, like, the obelisk they built, every pharaoh was building a bigger one because it could be seen further,
Yeah.
right? And they say, okay, this is the pharaoh thing, showing their
Manhood.
manhood. Tony Robbins had a very interesting about that. Actually, every human being has his feminist and masculinity side, and I,
Yeah.
I I just did a training the other day, which was really interesting because he's talking about it again, and
I
a
do
lot of
really
people.
agree with him though.
The funny thing, I
Yeah.
posted that in the Tony Robbins group, the
Mm.
picture where he's talking about
The three
feministic side.
C's and the
Yes,
yeah,
this
yeah,
post
yeah.
is actually right now is really political, because I didn't post the man thing on it, and there were so many women. It's like about 400 comments right now. It keeps going. It's
Oh
absolutely, and I just sit there and I
no.
don't comment anymore. I actually laugh about it, because there are so many people that are even with Tony Robbins in the team that
They're
are actually
triggered.
having, they're triggered. They're really triggered by it. It's just really funny, but it's the truth. He actually looked at it and it's like, all the fucking
Yeah.
time.
And he's
They
talking
want to
about
be.
energy, not gender or sex. Like that really annoys me because I look at my youngest, and you know what he's like, 100% feminine energy, and so I know the three things that I need to meet to make sure that he is, looked after. And it's true. Like I see it every day. Whereas my others, like they are so masculine, it's outrageous. But it just is what it is. But I do agree
and,
with it.
and I thought, I was like, it's a polarizing post I made there, and I only took a
But not on
picture because
purpose.
I was showing it like on the big screen. I was like, okay, fine. I was lying here, like, actually sitting here on the sofa and looking at that one. I took a picture, and I took as well of the mass, the other one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just, that one was the better shot, so I just posted it without even. I just said wow, 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 because it just made me think about how he. And that's why do you remember I said, and that's in 3 minutes time what he was talking about. he made sure again that everybody knew why he was the undisputed leader in the industry.
Yeah.
End of story. That's what I posted. And that went as this polarizing post. And I was like,
That's crazy.
wow, you're getting really
Because he
triggered
doesn't
here.
even say though that you're either one or the other, does he? He says like you can display, like elements
Both.
of both, and
Yeah. And
and
look,
it depends
look at
what's happening.
Sage. And look at Sage. I mean, if anybody is masculine, it's Sage. She is really on the mat on the number. She tells everybody. You look, even when you watch the movie with her, you see how she sits on the desk and she's observing it. And
Yeah.
you know who's wearing the pants here in the family, right? As big as he is, he's a big teddy bear. And
Yeah.
when you know Tony, you know how he is. He is he's actually the kindest, and actually he has quite a bit of a feminine side to him as well. When you see
Yeah.
him, he actually, when he cries, I mean, he stands in front. He actually starts crying because he feels so much suffering, and he needs it. And then it pretty much shows one of the needs is like, he needs to be acknowledged all the fucking time. And there you go. You see, that's what he is. He needs to have this acknowledgement, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he's even talking about himself. But that was such a polarizing message I did. And I was
Oh
like, okay, fine,
dear.
fair enough. I said again something that I shouldn't have said. But
Dear
then again,
me.
I don't even care. And as I say, that's why this entire book, I mean, it's coming out the 11th of December now, where this entire book goes like this, where I'm like looking in these things, and I properly will polarize a lot of people with that. I tell you
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure I mean, as I say in the first chapter already, okay, here's the second hurdle. I use the F word a lot. I swear a lot. That's fair enough. But I think I have actually, in our marketing, we have advised you enough. It says it is explicit content. So if you don't like that, don't fucking buy the book.
Fuck off.
Seriously. Don't fucking buy the book, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But I think that a lot of people will just buying it just because of that. And I think
Yeah.
there will be a lot out of it. I understand it's so bad. I'm not joking. Amazon was refusing to stock it.
What? Even though they'll take no's, and she's been an Amazon bestseller again because obviously she's
Well,
launched your. Well, we get it on Thursday, don't we? I'm going to that book launch on Thursday.
oh right, is it? When is
Mm.
it's coming out on Thursday? All right, okay,
Yeah,
good.
Thursday.
Yeah, but you see, I mean, I already know it's she. I mean, compared to mine, she is washed with Lenore actually here. I know what I wrote in there, and it's just like, but I don't give enough. I don't give enough. And actually, the editor that I've done it now and edited for me said to me, Chris, I'm not even telling you to take anything out there, because that's
Yeah.
what you are, and that's exactly what it is, and it makes it. He actually said to me, he has been laughing from the first page to the last page because I'm just so real. And I said, yeah, but you know what? I can't write another fucking self-help book that everybody has written. It's just,
Exactly.
it's boring. It's boring. And I'm talking, I'm not, I'm not downplaying to Tony. I love Tony. And you know that I love Tony. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
But he's
read
different.
some of his books and I go like, I have to read that again because
Yeah.
it just doesn't transpire over to me as well. I don't get it, and I have to read it again. It's not like I don't know the practice what I'm supposed to do, but it's
Yeah.
heavy. It's very deeply and heavy, and I think the best books that stick the most in your mind is being when it's a story, because you can relate to
Yeah.
the story, and when you relate to the story you'll take in the actual information way better. While I'm just giving you still advice, but I'm giving you
Yeah.
advice through a story and through life actually. So to answer back to this prospect, it's Life University, and go fuck yourself.
That's do you know what? That's how I've written mine as well. It is all about what I've experiences that I've had throughout my life, and kind of how what we do now relates to that. And I didn't even realize at the time. But when you look back and you reflect and you're like, I was doing this, like, oh, it's crazy, absolute madness. But I think you're right. It's got to be in a story. It can't just be a whole load of random information, because that doesn't mean anything to anybody.
And there's enough on the market. There's enough on the market. I mean, seriously, the
Yeah.
market is flooded with that.
It's not a
And,
textbook.
no, but they're all doing the same thing. You
Yeah.
read and they all have, oh yeah, well, it's the chimp complex and this one and that one and this one and that one. It's like, they all like, oh, good, yeah, well, I get it. Now you're calling it chimp, the next one is calling whale, the whale complex, and the third one is calling the inspiration from the earth. Well, sorry, it's all the
The
same
same
fucking
thing.
bullshit, right? So get a grip on life and talk about actually what's happening. Anyway, we are at 1 minute and 6 right now. So we went over time, but that is okay because I love that when we have the flow of conversation going on. So let's see who next week is gonna be our guest. I'm still trying to get a few ones actually that I really want to see. But otherwise, I love as well our personal conversations. So it was a pleasure to have you, everybody. If you want to join us for being guest, and we want you to talk to us about everything, it doesn't matter, can be anything in life, something you struggle with and how you overcome it. That's interesting for us because maybe we can give you an advice as well live here and tell you as a coach how you can overcome that. So don't hesitate. Just sign up as a guest with us, and the link has been running down there. Calendly, Sparkle Your Magic Impact, and that's where you can book it in. And we really love to have you on our show. Thanks very much, and guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's still live. And I pressed end broadcast.